This is an NBC News special report. Here's Peter Alexander.
Good evening to you. We are monitoring breaking news right now out of Central Texas. There has been a deadly shooting spree. It happened late this afternoon, spanning two cities, Midland and Odessa, Texas. Police have just confirmed 5 people are dead, 21 others injured, including law enforcement officers. The suspect is also dead. The president has been briefed. He is monitoring the situation, the White House says. Ron Allen is following the story. He joins us with all the details now. Ron, this started with a traffic stop.
Yes, a disturbing and chaotic situation that started with a traffic stop. A man was pulled over in a vehicle. We don't know exactly why. He opened fire on the police officer, then took off. At some point, he hijacks a mail truck. Along the way, he is shooting at people along the highway, somewhere between Odessa and the town of Midland. This continues on for some time, and then the suspect is finally cornered near a movie theater in Odessa, and a gunfight occurs, and police shoot and kill him. At one point during the day, they thought there were more shooters. They thought there were more vehicles involved. Very chaotic. Here's some of what the police just said about the casualties.
This subject was contacted by law enforcement, and an exchange of gunfire happened, and that subject is deceased at that location. We have law enforcement injured. We have the DPS trooper in Midland County. We have 1 MPD officer and 1 OPD officer that were struck. As far as civilian casualties, we have at least 21 victims. 21 shooting victims, and at least 5 deceased at this point in time.
We don't know the condition of the police officers who were wounded. There was one report suggesting that the injuries were not life-threatening. We believe the officer that was shot was the first one who encountered the suspect at that traffic stop along a highway, apparently. Again, we don't know why that happened. 1 gunman, 1 shooter, 1 suspect in all of this, identified as a white male. We don't know what his motivation was. We don't know what kind of weapon it was. But just a chaotic scene with the area completely on lockdown. There was a mall, a shopping mall that was involved. There's a campus of the University of Texas that was on lockdown as well. But the bottom line is that now authorities believe the situation is under control. They believe it was just 1 gunman, and he's dead.
Yeah, you can only imagine the terror in that community as they try to figure out what was going on. Ron Allen, thank you very much. And joining us now by phone is former ATF special agent in charge, also an NBC News analyst, Jim Kavanaugh. Jim, give us a sense of how challenging a situation like this is when you have a shooter opening fire on the highway.
Right, Peter. Oftentimes it starts with a traffic stop. You know, somebody may be a fugitive from justice, an escaped prisoner. They can be a wanted person. They can have an illegal weapon. When the trooper pulls them over, they engage and start shooting. And then this looks like it went into a homicidal rage after that. We just had a situation in California. Trooper killed just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. A convicted felon armed with a M4 rifle. When the trooper pulled him over, he got out and killed the trooper. So it does happen. There probably was some criminality involved. He didn't want to be arrested. He didn't want to go back to prison. And he started killing the trooper. It could have also been, you know, on his way to do a mass shooting, although that's probably unlikely. It's more likely he had some criminal culpability.
Yeah, Jim Kavanaugh, we appreciate your expertise on this developing breaking story right now. We, of course, will continue monitoring the situation. You can see more on your late local newscasts. For now, some of you will rejoin NBC Nightly News in Progress. Others return to your local programming. I'm Peter Alexander. Good night.
All of the media is released and social media reports. People come to the hospital seeking reports on their loved ones. So we have a location inside the hospital where we congregated all of those families, and we had a senior nursing official work to reunify them and get as much information as we could to each and every family member. It's my understanding that that room is down to just a couple of families now, and that we've communicated with everybody that we can.
Are there any streets that are going to be blocked off or closed down to funnel traffic through, or have things died down?
We're going to keep the hospital into a lockdown situation until approximately 10 p.m. just for staff comfort and safety, but the hospital is back to normal operations at this time.
So have you guys
Sorry, if you guys had been less prepared, how do you think the situation could have been different? It seems like that preparation made the difference.
It did make the difference. I can't tell you because we are prepared, but I think if we were not, we may not have had the same rapid response to the situation and the great outcomes that we had. I mean, we saved 12 people today.
Can you confirm that the hospital is in need of more nurses to show up to help with victims, or?
We're using our own internal communication systems to make sure that we're adequately staffed for the unit for the evening. And yes, we are actually above normal staffing levels for this evening, going into the weekend. And the hospital is back to normal operations.
As of right now, do you guys need more nurses, or?
Right now, it's being reported to us that we're fully staffed. We activate what's called call trees, where managers start them, then they call one person after another, and we had the exact response that we would have ever hoped for in the situation. Not only for nurses, but for doctors and all of the other support staff and police officers, security, everybody that we need to manage an incident like this.
And for people who are watching at home right now, I know that you mentioned your blood supplies are good. That's very good news. And then your supplies inside the hospital are doing well as well. But what can they do to help?
You know, as our CEO said a few minutes ago, the community needs your prayers. The victims need your prayers. Families need your prayers. The hospital staff needs your prayers. What we call cash emergency supplies. So when there is a situation like this where we consume lots of supplies while giving the care, we're able to replenish them quickly enough to maintain operations.
I think that's pretty much everything I have, except for you said that y'all were moving into the third phase, which is kind of putting things back together and going back to normal. Is that because most of the patients are kind of getting in that stable, I guess, condition?
Those patients, there's 8 that are 7 critical and 2 that are serious. So I can't give you an update on their exact status, but they are receiving the appropriate care at the level of care they're at.
I just have a quick question for the doctor, and we could just keep the mic on you. Have you responded to any of this situation before? And when you did start getting the calls that this was happening, what, as a doctor, what went through your mind at first?
First, I would emphasize that this is not about the doctor. It's not about us. It's about the family. But myself, personally, I'm an Iraq War veteran. I served 12 years in the military and served in the Second Battle of Fallujah and Baghdad. And this is something that, unfortunately, I'm very experienced at, mass casualty situations. And this is what led us to form the preparation process with hundreds and hundreds of people that you are not seeing here that are very intricately involved in a situation like this. So as far as for the public out there, the message for them, I think what they can do to help, you know, we always say thoughts and prayers, that's great, but go out there, take a BLS class, go out there, learn about how to stop bleeding, go out there and practice safety. Don't text and drive. Don't do things where you put yourself and others in danger. And this is something that we can do as a nation to help here.
Was there anything based on either possibly a weapon that may have been used or the ammunition that was used that made this worse than maybe a typical gunshot wound or anything else?
So typically I can reliably comment on what's happening in the walls of the emergency room. So it'd be speculation about what is going on the streets and what streets are closed and what weapons were used. I don't want to say the wrong information. So
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you confirm any local law enforcement? Are there any police officers in the hospital right now who are either recovering in stable condition or in critical condition that you can say?
I don't want to say the wrong information, but from my understanding of the situation, the vast majority came to Medical Center Hospital. We are the highest level trauma center for over 30,000 square miles in this region. So over 30,000 square miles. So the majority came here. There were a few that went to some outlying trauma centers as well. So who was an officer and who wasn't and who was where, it would be speculation on my end. Okay. Our end, we were just trying to do the basics, stop bleeding, resuscitate, and use our well-trained techs, nurses, staff, physicians, everyone to get the job done.
I've got one more for you, and then
yes,
I'll be done. So going back to that preparation, you as a doctor, is there anything specific that you guys prepared that was super beneficial in the position of a doctor?
these things don't just happen. You have to prepare. So everything from who comes in to where family members go, to how to keep ourselves safe, how to prevent wrong messages going out to the media, how to keep the calm and do this in a calm situation. This doesn't happen by accident. This takes years of preparation, and I encourage every community to do this. This is not an urban community here, but this happened here. And this can happen anywhere across America. And I think what I personally took from this is a team here in West Texas, in the deserts of West Texas, was maximally prepared at this trauma center to take care of everyone. And I don't think this is beyond us. Anybody can do this. Please be prepared.
Thank you.
I've got one more. I do have the information on the family center is located at a setup at Ector County Annex Building on 1010 East 8th Street. 1010 East 8th Street. And that's for the family center, the reunification center there, okay? Any other questions before we wrap this up?
How many doctors were called in?
Man,
Several. We called in
a lot.
So we had our basic emergency department crew, and then on top of that, we have backup emergency department crew. But often you have to figure out the bottlenecks in your system, and this came from our preparation. The bottleneck may not be the emergency room; it may be the operating room, the anesthesiologist. So we prepared this in advance. Everybody was called in, from extra nurses, extra techs, extra, custodians. They may save more lives than anybody by preventing infection. So this is a team effort, and we were prepared for this, and the whole team was called in.
Thank you.
Just the last thing, we're gonna stay on lockdown till 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, we'll reassess the situation, make sure we're safe. I don't plan on having another one of these unless something drastically changes, okay? But if we do, we'll get the notification out to everybody. But thank y'all for being here. And one final word just to everybody listening to our voice today and tonight is when you go to bed tonight with your families, you need to grab them and hold on tight, because nobody's guaranteed the next day. And grab onto your families and love them, and pray for our staff, our doctors, and these victims families, and hold on to your loved ones tonight. And all we can say is, God bless Texas, God bless Odessa and Medical Center, United States, and love on your family tonight. And thank y'all very much. That's all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, and we just heard from the press conference there at MCH, and the CEO did confirm that the number has raised to 6 dead, and we are looking, the original number that was given to us as 14 is now actually 13, so 13 people were taken to the MCH hospital. We are seeing they confirm that 2 have been treated and released, 7 are still in critical condition, 2 are in serious condition, 1 is deceased, which bumped that number up to 6, and then we're also seeing that 1 was transferred under the age of 2 to another hospital. And what was other information as well is that they first have different phases for an active shooter situation. They were first in the activation phase. They finished operational periods 1 and 2, and now they are currently in the recovery phase. Now the MCH is still on lockdown, and they said that they will be on lockdown until 10 p.m. When 10 p.m. comes around, they will reassess the situation, and then they will see if they need to continue to stay on lockdown. But the CEO said that he didn't quite expect that to be happening, but they are going to be cautious as possible. Now, this lockdown is for the safety of the patients and the staff as well. This is obviously a serious situation. What they did say is that they are above normal staffing there at the hospital. Their blood supplies look good. They do have a family gathering location, and that address, we'll be trying to give you some more information on that, is 110 East 8th Street. It's in Ector County, and that's a place for people if they have any additional questions. They are going to be continuing to go in that area. And so it is the Ector County Tax Assessor and Vehicle Registration on maps. In registration. We're going to get a map for you there just to give you another idea of what that looks like coming up. Again, that's actually 1010 East 8th in Ector County. And so we are continuing to follow more information. I'm going to recap some more of what happened just in this press conference now. Again, all the information that we're receiving is really through these press conferences. There's still so many questions that we have here at the station that we're trying to get answered. I know all of you at home have questions as well. This is a stable condition from what our law enforcement is saying, that it was one shooter, it was not two. And we'll go ahead and recap real quick what happened. At 3:17, there was a traffic stop in Odessa. That's where a trooper was shot, and that suspect, who is described as a white man in his mid-30s, they're still not